All right, today we're on the hunt for a lost kingdom from India's famous Malabar coast, the Mushika Kingdom. Now, these guys were a huge deal for more than 1,000 years, a real heavyweight in global trade. And yet, if you look them up today, they're practically invisible. I mean, just think about that. You have a dynasty controlling one of the most lucrative trade routes on the planet with direct ties to the Roman Empire, and then they just, poof, fade from the history books. That's the puzzle we're tackling today, and we're going to piece their incredible story back together. To pull this off, we're going to have to think like historical detectives, and we've got 4 major clues to work with: a one-of-a-kind epic poem, some cryptic messages carved in stone, a stunning pile of Roman gold, and maybe the most powerful clue of all, cultural traditions that are still alive and kicking today. Let's see what they tell us. So, first up in our investigation, we're going right back to the beginning. We're trying to figure out how this whole kingdom got started, and, well, right away we run into 2 completely different stories. So on one hand, you have the kingdom's official story, this epic poem called the Mushaka Vamsha. It talks about a legendary prince, Ramagatya, who was handpicked by a famous sage to kick things off. But then, if you look at the oldest historical records we have, these ancient poems, they talk about a very real, very powerful warrior named Nanan, a guy famous for his treasure and his war chariots. And the myth gets even wilder. The name Mushika actually comes from the Sanskrit word for, get this, rat. Yeah, a rat. The legend involves a demon being turned into a rat on their sacred mountain. I mean, what a founding story. And believe it or not, that's the one that's stuck with them for centuries. Okay, so myths are fascinating, but let's get our hands on some cold, hard proof. Because it turns out that same sacred mountain, Azimala, the very heart of their kingdom, was hiding a secret that proves their power was anything but a myth. We're talking thousands, not a few coins, not a small bag, thousands of Roman gold coins from the time of emperors like Nero were dug up right there. This isn't just treasure, it's a receipt. It's physical proof that they were major players in a global trade network almost 2,000 years ago, trading directly with the Roman Empire. And this timeline really shows you they weren't just a flash in the pan. Way back in the 1st century, Roman sailors already had their main port, Naura, marked on their maps. 100 years later, King Nanan is a famous ruler. Fast forward a few more centuries, and new migrations are shaping their culture, setting the stage for their next big chapter. They were built to last. All of this history builds up to the kingdom's absolute peak, its golden age. And this incredible era was fueled by 2 things: the world's most sought-after spice, and a totally radical new way of thinking about family and power. This was their moment. During the 10th and 11th centuries, everything just clicked into place. The Mushikas had an iron grip on the spice trade. Their ports were these booming international hubs, and they were so rich they could fund incredible works of art and literature, like that epic poem that tells us their whole story. So, how'd they get so rich? It boiled down to controlling the supply chain. They had the black pepper, the black gold of the ancient world. Their ports were the perfect gateway for that pepper to get to Arabia and beyond. And they had these powerful merchant guilds running the whole operation like a well-oiled machine. It was an economic engine that powered the entire kingdom. But here's where it gets really interesting. Their economic savvy was matched by a social system that was, frankly, revolutionary. Around the 10th century, they adopted something called marmakatayam. Now listen to this. Instead of a son inheriting from his father, all of a man's wealth and titles went to his sister's kids. Your nephew, not your son, was your heir. Just think about how that changes everything. This system completely flipped their social pyramid. All of a sudden, women became the anchors of the dynasty. The royal bloodline didn't flow through the king's son, it flowed through his sisters and his nieces. It was a radical idea that made the Mushika kingdom truly unique and probably a lot more stable, since the line of succession was always crystal clear. Of course, no golden age lasts forever. So our investigation now turns to the end of the story, and what we find isn't some dramatic, fiery collapse. It's much more like a slow, gradual transformation. Yeah, it's really important to get this straight. This wasn't a case of one last battle and a defeated king. The Mushika story ends more like a slow dissolve, as pressure from the outside and cracks forming on the inside began to change the very soul of the kingdom. You can pretty much see this happen in 4 stages. First, they start getting hammered by invasions from the super powerful Chola Empire. While that's going on, their own royal family starts to splinter and fight amongst itself, which weakens them from the inside. Then, because of all that instability, their economy starts to suffer as new rival ports pop up and steal their trade. The final step wasn't really an end, it was more of a rebranding, as the dynasty basically relaunches itself under a new name, Kolathunad. And we have actual proof of this pressure. We have inscriptions left by the Cholas from 1005 AD where they boast about defeating the haughty kings of Ezamala. That one phrase tells you everything. This wasn't the final blow, but it was a clear sign that the Mushikas weren't the top dogs anymore. And this brings us to our final piece of evidence, which is maybe the most incredible one: the world around us today. Because the truth is, the Mushika kingdom never really vanished. Its DNA, its culture, is still alive and well all over North Kerala. The name might be gone from the maps, but their influence is everywhere, if you know what you're looking for. They didn't disappear, they just became the foundation for the entire culture that came after them. And you can still see this legacy today. That whole revolutionary matrilineal family system, it became the bedrock of society there for centuries. These spectacular Theyyam rituals you see, with the wild costumes and dances, you can trace their origins right back to the gods the Mushika kings worshipped. Even the later kings, the Kalatharis, were super proud to claim they were descended from the Mushika line. The legacy lived on. So in the end, the Mushika kingdom wasn't really lost at all. It was just hiding in plain sight, waiting to be rediscovered. And it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? How many other amazing stories like this are out there, just beneath the surface, hidden in an old poem, a name on a stone, or a local tradition, just waiting for us to connect the dots?